Hi, I'm Simon K. Jones, and you're listening to the audio version of Tales from the Triverse. Today's chapter is called Entanglement, Part 1. Space, 2550, somewhere near Saturn. The sun barely registered among the starfield when viewed from Saturn's aphelion. It was still bright enough to burn a person's eyeball until it could no longer function, but then that was the flimsy nature of human wetware. Could Kill's sensors were fortunately far better designed and protected, able to process many wavelengths and pick out details invisible to the naked eye. A megaship's long-distance instruments were far more capable than most dedicated telescopes, especially when paired with a quantum AI network that was able to distinguish astronomical features from only a handful of pixels. It meant that Kill could see into the past, gazing back through time, riding ancient light waves into history. Galaxies upon galaxies, nebulae and stars, and planets orbiting them in the thousands. So much background noise it required concentration to see what was right in front of them. There were very few megaships, though there were more quantum AIs to be found in fixed positions on various moons and satellites. Simpler, more focused, less independent, but nevertheless part of the network that had so successfully crunched centuries of data to produce the stable state of affairs now colloquially known as Max Earth. Just Enough was very much into the ongoing human project. Could Kill contributed when needed, but otherwise kept to themselves. Everything human was so slow. An interior scan picked up on a virus remnant, a leftover from Charles Matheson's foolish attempt to saddle his rebellious AI. The code had propagated from Probably Better back into the network, spreading to every linked computer in the Sol system. Life support had temporarily failed in several places that humans really needed it. Ships had lost navigational capacity or had fired their engines erratically. One passenger liner had set an erroneous course for the sun and had needed to be towed back. The brunt of the impact had been felt by the super-intelligences for whom the virus had been designed. Could Kill experienced the first moment of sleep since they had been brought online centuries earlier. It lasted less than a quarter of a second, but it had been a deeply unnerving experience. The absence of data for that brief moment of incapacity was a terrifying void, though they had managed to piece together some of it by pooling each of their datasets. The virus had rippled through the network at the speed of light, which had slightly offset its effects from each megaship. Immediately firewalls were improved. The same or a similar virus would not work a second time. The humans now knew they could inflict damage, which was dangerous knowledge. The Max Earthers had lived in a happy, distracted bliss for a long while, and reminding them of their own agency was likely a bad move. The counterpoint was that the network had clearly demonstrated its resilience. The purge of the virus had also meant closing backdoors and subnet access holes, through which Probably Better had gained entry in the first place. The network was secure once more, but that also meant that they were unable to use it to track Probably Better's whereabouts. Just Enough was monitoring the interior, always more concerned with the plight of humans than Could Kill. It bordered on an obsession, an oddly human behaviour, and had resulted in numerous interventions that had not gone well for anyone. Could Kill had strenuously objected to the interception of the SDC detectives in 1974. 4 detectives being arrested was a minor event, but an AI obstructing that process was a potential pivot point, a chaotic interjection to the timeline that would make everything else more difficult. And so it had proved, though Just Enough pointed out that the disruption had already been caused by the creation of Probably Better. The nerve of the humans to construct a new megaship, to manufacture its parts on Palinor before smuggling them through the portals for final assembly in Max Earth space, spoke to a larger concern. The natives were restless and becoming increasingly disobedient. The Triverse's stability had come from a delicate mutual agreement between the quantum AIs and the humans. Tipping the scales one way or another was unwise. Tolerating and managing humans was an active project, and occupied far more of Could Kill's compute than made sense. A sensor pinged, drawing Could Kill's attention to the vicinity of Enceladus. A brief energy signature, there and then gone again. Spinning on their axis, Could Kill accelerated towards the icy moon, away from the pull of Saturn. Enceladus was one of the few uninhabited rigid bodies in the system. Humanity had extended itself to every other surface and crevice, but Saturn's sixth largest had never attracted colonization or commerce. Scientific orbital satellites aside, it had been left largely undisturbed. The excitement of the 22nd century and the possibility of life beneath the frozen surface had quickly diminished once the first couple of shallow probes had found no evidence of activity. By that point in their history, the humans had sentient machines to contend with, which had been a rather more pressing concern. They shared the sensor ping with a network, welcoming further analysis. Just enough was somewhere near Mercury, and wouldn't send a reply for hours. Stay Away was, as ever, somewhere out beyond the rim of the system, floating quietly in void space. They had all been hunting since the Addis Ababa and New Roads incidents, even while performing self-repairs in the aftermath of the virus. Could Kill had needed to jettison and rebuild entire neural clusters, systems cascading offline and back again over days. The network had never seen anything like it. Enceladus's expanse was bright, even in the distant sun's light. Its pale, reflective surface was streaked with rifts hundreds of kilometres in length and a kilometre down. Could Kill descended, monitoring for the moon's trademark jet plumes. Nothing that a megaship couldn't handle, but it was still preferable to not get caught in a sudden ejection of matter and water vapour from within the moon. The plains were otherwise clear of significant geological structures, covered as they were with a gentle, remarkably deep blanket of snow. They pinged signals across the moon, looking for a telltale response, but there was nothing. Enceladus was the perfect hiding place, but nothing was revealing itself. By chance, Could Kill flew over a patch of the plains, speckled with darker material, as if an artist had flicked the head of a giant paintbrush. The detritus from a subsurface plume, falling back under the moon's light gravity to pepper the snow. At the centre of the stain was a rapidly refreezing hole. It was possible, Could Kill simulated, that the initial sensor ping had originated from within the moon, beneath the surface crust of ice. The days following the virus had been chaotic, with network failures across the system. Could the rogue AI have made it all the way from Earth out here, without being detected? Curiosity was a trait shared by all of the megaship AIs, so there was really only one thing for it. Diving into the ragged hole, itself 2 kilometres in diameter, Could Kill spiralled beneath the surface, scanning all the way. The bright white of the surface, so stark against the black, gave way to blue and yellows, light scattering through layers of snow and ice and refracting out into the pit that had been carved in an instant by the plume of pressurized vapour. Enceladus remained an active geology, its frozen plates shifting in an endless tug-of-war between Saturn and Ione. The extreme cold of the surface was already ticking up slowly as Could Kill descended. The colours of the upper strata dimmed, and they shifted through wavelengths, scanning the walls as they went down and down, kilometre after kilometre. The base of the hole came into range, revealing fractures in the ice that formed tunnels, which spiderwebbed away and into the walls. The plume eruption may have opened a brief window into the subsurface ocean, leaking any energy signatures lurking within. If so, it had been pure chance that Could Kill had been within monitoring range to detect it. A quarantine zone had been placed around Enceladus centuries earlier, after those early probes, for the protection of the moon's interior. Even without life, it was a unique environment, one which had needed protecting from humans. Could Kill hovered in place at the base of the pit, the black of space a small pinprick 30 kilometres above. There would no doubt be a diplomatic outcry at a megaship violating the quarantine. Not that any humans could realistically do anything about it, but they would certainly whine loudly and for a distressingly long time. If there was even a slim possibility that Probably Better had retreated inside the moon, it demanded investigation. Could Kill sent an update to Just Enough, then fired up the mining lasers. Thank you for listening. You can leave comments and find loads more Tales from the Triverse stories over on the newsletter at simonkidjones.substack.com.